This is a second video on directed numbers, that's positive and negative numbers. The first video covered adding and subtracting. This video is for multiplying and dividing and then combining these things together with the order of calculation. So in the last video, some of the examples were here. If it's negative 2 add 5, you think of negative 2 and going up 5, takes you to 3. Negative 6 add 2 means negative 6 and go up 2, takes you to negative 4. Adding a negative was the same as subtract, so 7 add negative 3 was just like 7 subtract 3, that is 7 down 3 to 4. Negative 5 adding negative 1 is just like subtracting 1, so negative 5 down 1. 2 subtract 8 is 2 and go down 8. This is negative 3 and go down 4. So you could think of temperature to get the answers. Negative 3 and temperature goes down 4 degrees to negative 7. Two particular results. One you just saw, the adding of a negative. Adding of a negative is the same as subtract. So 7 add negative 3 is just like 7 take away 3. Negative 5 add negative 1 is just like negative 5 subtract 1. And the particular result, subtracting a negative, was the same as addition. 6 subtract negative 2 is the same as 6 plus 2. Negative 3 subtract negative 5 is the same as negative 3 add 5. And negative 1 subtract negative 8 is like negative 1 add 8. In cases of this subtracting a negative, it's better to put in a line of working where you change the sign, subtracting a negative to being addition, so you don't make a mistake. However, there were some worksheets to practice on these from the first video. This is now on to multiplication and division. So consider 4 times 3, that means you're adding up 4 3's. So a multiplication is a repeated addition. So if you've got 4 multiplying negative 3, that means you're adding up 4 negative 3's. So if you're adding up these 4 negative 3's, you'll get negative 12. So we've got a result, just like 4 3's are 12, 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Now, since it doesn't matter the order in which you multiply two things, 4 times 3, 3 times 4, it's the same answer. Same here, 4 times negative 3 is the same as negative 3 times 4. So it doesn't matter which way around you're multiplying these, positive times negative or negative times positive, you get a negative answer. So if you multiply a positive and a negative, whatever way around, you get a negative answer. So here's the rules. Positive times negative or negative times positive will give you a negative answer. Here's a sequence. We've got 3 lots of negative 5 from what we've just done. That should be negative 15. 2 lots of negative 5. And so on. 1 less lot of negative 5's each time as we go down. So there's negative 15. That was 3 lots of negative 5. If I've only got 2 lots of negative 5, my answer should be 5 more than it used to be. And it is, it's negative 10, it's gone up by 5. So there's 1 less negative 5, my answer's 5 bigger. There's now only 1 negative 5 here, so the answer's negative 5. So notice 3 negative 5's, 2 negative 5's, 1 negative 5. As there's 1 less negative 5, I get an answer 5 more than previously. So if I've got 0 negative 5's, I've obviously got 0. That's 5 more here than negative 5. My next answer, which is again 1 less negative 5, should be 5 more. And 1 less negative 5 again should be 5 more, and so on. And what we've got here is we're multiplying a negative and getting a positive answer. Negative 3 times negative 5 is positive 15. Result, if you multiply 2 negatives, you get a positive answer. So it's from the sequence, we've got 1 less negative 5 each time down this column, so our answer became 5 more each time and resulted in 2 negatives multiplying to make a positive. So, same for division. If 4 3's are 12, I could say, well, 12 divided by 3 and I should come out with 4. If 4 times negative 3 is negative 12, I can divide the negative 12 by the negative 3 and get the 4. And I've got 2 negatives dividing here, making a positive. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. So if I divide the negative 12 by that 4, it should give me this negative 3 coming out. That's a negative divided by a positive. And finally, if I've got negative 4 times negative 3 made positive 12, that's from the last result, 2 negatives multiplied to make a positive. If I divide that 12 by the negative 3 here, it should give me negative 4 coming out. So I've got a negative divided by a positive, or a positive divided by a negative, giving a negative answer. Just like in multiplication. I've got 2 negatives dividing here, giving a positive answer, just as in multiplication. So the rules in short are this. That was the rules for multiplication. If the signs are the same, positive and positive, or negative and negative, out comes a positive answer. If the signs are mixed, one's positive and one's negative, doesn't matter what way around, you get a negative answer. Same for division. Divide 2 positives or 2 negatives, you've got a positive answer. If one's positive and one's negative, whatever way around, it will come a negative answer. So that's the rules you memorise. Multiplication, division, same rules. So, if you click the link in the description, there's a worksheet. It'll have the answers with it. There's some practising, multiplying positive and negatives. Sometimes there's more than 2 numbers here. If you were to multiply 2 negatives, you get a positive. So you multiply 3 negatives, you'll get a negative because 2 of the negatives will make a positive. So when you've got an odd number of negatives, you end up with a negative answer. If you get an even number of negatives, you end up with a positive answer. So every 2 negatives multiply to make a positive. So any odd number of negatives being multiplied will have a negative answer. So next is the order of calculation. This has come up before with decimals and with fractions. So you'd always do multiplication division first before you ever add or subtract. However, if you want to change that, use brackets. You do whatever's in the brackets first. So here, this is negative 6, add 4 times negative 3. You do the 4 times negative 3 first to get negative 12. Then you do the negative 6 plus negative 12. But there's brackets around the sum here. So you add negative 6 plus 4 in the brackets first, and then you multiply by the negative 3. The brackets around the negatives here, that's just for neatness. It's a calculation in the brackets that you do first. So, here, you would work out the top line. You do this 3 times negative 3 first. In the bottom line, you do this negative 3 squared, because that's a multiplication, negative 3 times negative 3. So that's the 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. You're doing negative 3 times negative 3 in the bottom line there. That's giving you positive 9, a negative times a negative. Top lines here has also got a subtracting a negative, so it's handy to switch the sign there to plus. Subtracting a negative, same as addition. So you work out the top line. Negative 1 plus 9 is 8. 4 add 1, subtract 9 in the bottom is negative 4. And then finally, it's a fraction. 8 over negative 4 means 8 divided by negative 4. You're dividing a positive by a negative. You'll get a negative answer. So notice we've got here 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. Subtracting negative 9 is the same as adding 9. So there's these different things to watch. This is squaring negative 3. Negative 3 times negative 3 gives you positive 9. You sort out the top line, you sort out the bottom line, and then last stage you do the division. Now, it's worth pointing this out. This says negative 3 squared. That means square the 3 and you get 9. It's negative 9. If the negative 3 is in brackets, that means you're squaring the whole of negative 3. It means negative 3 times negative 3. The answer is positive 9. So, whenever you ever want to square negative 3, make sure you bracket it to make it clear. We usually bracket the negatives just for neatness, because there's a multiplication sign clashing with a minus sign, so it looks neater if it's bracketed. And here you're squaring the 3, you're not squaring negative 3, so you've got to watch how you write it. If you mean to square negative 3, make sure it's in brackets. Click the link in the description. There's a set of questions all about order of calculation. and it'll have the answers with it. This is the final bit, which is basically it's just all the rules for addition, subtraction, multiplication, division of positives and negatives, and watching the order of calculation. So it's substitution for the letters. The letter A, B and C are represented by these values. So if you're asked to work out 3C minus AB, 3C means 3 times C, AB means A times B. You do the multiplications first, then you do the subtraction. So it's 3 times what C is. C is negative 5. So you substitute, you make the C negative 5. You substitute for the A and the B. A is negative 2 and B is 3. We bracket the negatives just for neatness. You carry out the multiplications, 3 times negative 5 and negative 2 times 3. And then you carry out this subtraction. That's subtracting a negative. So it's better to change that to addition so you don't make a mistake. And it's negative 15 up 6. Now, the second line there is to show you what's involved. We would normally not write that line. So there's a substitution, carry out the multiplications first, then carry out the subtraction. Watch for things like subtracting a negative. Here's BC squared, so you have to realise that's only C is being squared. So it's B times C, only the C is being squared there. Put the values in for the letters. B is 3 and C is negative 5. That's negative 5 times negative 5 is positive 25. And then times that by 3 is 75. So it's 2 negatives multiplying to make a positive. If you square a negative, you're going to get a positive. So here's the same as ABC. A squared means A times A. BC means B times C. Do the multiplications first. Make the substitutions. A is negative 2. B and C are 3 and negative 5. Do the multiplications. Negative times negative here. Here it's a positive times a negative. So watch the signs. You're at 4 adding negative 15. That's like 4 subtract 15. You get negative 11. This A bracket B plus C means A multiplies the brackets B plus C. So A is negative 2, B and C are 3, negative 5. They're being added in the brackets, and then you're multiplying by negative 2. So you work out the brackets first. So the sum in the brackets is 3 add negative 5 is negative 2. And then the multiplication is done. Negative times negative is positive. So if it's A brackets, it means A times the brackets. 2ABC just means 2 times A times B times C. Just put in the values for A, B and C, and you do 2 times 3 times 5, and then you worry about the signs. It's a negative here and a negative here. 2 negatives multiplied to make a positive, so your answer is positive. There's an even number of negatives, you're going to get a positive answer. If there's an odd number of negatives, you'll get a negative answer. So you just do the multiplication, 2 times 3 times 5, and then think about the sign. It's a positive sign, it's positive 60. Finally, this is AB and square it. So it's A times B, get the answer and square it. A is negative 2 and B is 3. Get that answer, which is negative 6, and square it. It's negative 6 times negative 6 makes positive 36. And quotients, divisions. Work out the top line, work out the bottom line, and then finally division, top divided by bottom. So top line is A minus B, it's negative 2 subtract 3. Bottom line is just C is negative 5. You work out the top line, it's negative 5, gets divided by negative 5. Negative divided by negative is positive. Here, this is quite complicated. You've got the whole top line to work out. A squared means A times A. Work out the top line. You work out the bottom line, which is work out C minus A and square that answer. Now again, you could at the side work out the top line, work out the bottom line, and then put them in as a fraction. I've just put them all in here. That's C is negative 5. A squared is negative 2 times negative 2, because A is negative 2. The bottom line, that's C is negative 5, and A here is negative 2. So in the brackets here, it's negative 5 minus negative 2. Get that answer, and then square it. So the top line, -5 minus, and do the multiplication. So the multiplication, -2 times -2 is +4. It's -5 subtract that +4. And the bottom line, -5 plus 2 is -3. Now normally I'd write a -5 plus 2 first and get the answer, but it's just shortage of space in this slide here. Square -3 is -3 times -3 is +9. The top's -5 minus 4, well that's -9. It's a negative divided by positive. And that will give you -1. So that's expressions. You replace the letters by the values you're given, and then you're just following through the calculations, doing multiplications first, unless there's brackets there with a calculation in it. Watching, subtracting a negative, being a plus, negative divided by negative, positive, a negative times a negative, positive, a negative divided by positive, negative. So you've got to watch the signs and the answer. So you carry out the calculations and then think about the signs. There's this worksheet. If you click the link in the description, it starts off quite simple and then it gets a wee bit more complicated. There's values for A, B and C throughout the exercise. Gradually get more difficult towards the end. That's just here, there's the values for A, B and C, but in the other questions 5 on, the values of A, B and C change for these ones, and they'll have the answers with them. So using the link in the description, you can get all the worksheets involved. There's that worksheet which was used in the last video for adding and subtracting with the answers. That's multiplication and division, and this is order of calculation with the answers. Then there's that value expressions where you replace the letters by the numbers, and it'll have the answers. As well as that worksheet, there is another worksheet which is more basic, positive and negatives using temperature and addition and subtraction, and some puzzles involving positive and negatives, and a few multiplications. Coordinates involving positive and negatives, given coordinates, plotting points, completing shapes, and it's got the answers, including for the shapes. So plenty of practice. Set of notes, it covers all the numbers work. Previously covered decimals, significant figures, adding, subtracting, decimals, order of calculation, scientific notation, all the fractions, all the percentages, and the last thing on the notes for number work, directed numbers. First video was add, subtract. This is multiply and divide in order of calculation. So it's got notes on it. I hope you found the videos useful. Thank you.